Hello, and welcome to the End of Serendipity Conference. So let's get started. I'm here to talk about accessibility of the IT products, the communication products that we create. And here we go. And it's something crucial for today's society that we need to be inclusive for everyone. And so let's right on into it. And let me turn that out. So when we think of accessibility, this is often what we think about, right? So we have ramps that need to be built. We have automatic doors that open. But what happens when we think about one part of it and not the other, and how they join together? That join is important. And so for more of our lives to join together and be accessible, we have to make sure that the ramp is actually outside the door path, on the right. And then on the left, there can't be any steps if you're making a ramp. That's just not right. So we're noticing more things that are physical in our environment for accessibility. But what about the electronics? And so that's what we're here to talk about today. This is an important kind of overview of it. The design of information and communication technologies, ICT, for the products, devices, services, environments. Every phone we get has more accessibility products and different things we can tweak to make it easier for us to read, easier for us to hear, and so forth. And so it's to make it inclusive for as many groups of people as possible. And so how did I learn about this? I was in the US. I'm working on a federal government application, and they have something called Section 508 that they passed and implemented at all federal applications, communication technologies and services. Adobe PDFs, even those have to be accessible by people that are differently abled. And so I got certified, and I got my certification on it. That was not an easy test on it, and you'll see why. When we're doing this, we are supporting the needs of many different users. And the idea is what are the different needs people have? Well, some people are blind or just visually impaired. There's that whole range of people with just a little bit of eyesight problems, people who can only see the center, people who can only see the peripheral, that just, we're losing eyesight, but it's not gone yet. So we have to think about all that. So things have to be clear. Deafness, different levels of hearing that people have. The use of assistive hearing devices and visual devices help with navigating some of our website applications that can get pretty intense. Some people have difficulty with speech. And so if you notice, we call up an application, we call up on a website, our gas company, our electric company, and they say press or say to, right? They're saying it slowly for people who have difficulty with speech, with cognitive need, a different understanding, absorbing different words. People who might be hard of hearing need it to be said slower and more distinctive. And that helps, that there's more than one way to do something. Difficulty with fine motor control. You're asking me to click on something. Please make the button obvious and easy to find, right? So don't make it this tiny little bar at the bottom, or make sure it's uncovered and you can see the entire button. Difficulty with fine motor control can make it hard to click around and do things. So that's why there's more than one way to do something. You use your mouse, or you can use your keyboard. Those are ways to deal with it. Limited reach or strength. I know that the pinch and the grab is an easy thing to do, but people with motor control issues or strength in holding the hand, the phone, could be an issue. So we have to think about that. When you go to the grocery and you're putting your credit card in that mobile pad right there, sometimes I'm on my tippy toes, and I can't reach it, literally. And I feel like I'm okay in other worlds, and these other things, but I might have a reach issue with that. And then cognitive need, I might have had a stroke, and I need more time to absorb words. And so when you're doing training, nowadays you'll see that you can stop the training on each page. You can read what's being said, or you can hear what's being said, or both. I love closed captioning. I gotta say, those British shows are hard to understand. I'm glad there's closed captioning. And I can pause it whenever I need to. So the different cognitive needs need to be understood. And so what are the ways that we actually test for all these things? So This test is this certification and test is no laughing matter. This is intent. These are all the different things that they test on, and these are chapters on their own. And so if you have audio and video, you have to have certain other ways of doing things. Like the audio needs to have closed captioning as well as visual. You have to have controls that are available if you're on a video. I need to be able to stop it whenever I need to see what's happening. Keyboarding we'll talk about as well, but I love to use my keyboard instead of my mouse. Carpal tunnel is a little, off, so need to have that keyboard ability. Images we'll talk about as well. They need to be have text on it in case the images don't download. Caption, notifications, forms. There's so many different things with forms, like links and buttons on it. Make sure there's no timeout, or the timeout can be reset if I'm still working and I'm just needing a little bit more time because I'm slower. That could be a thing. Headings, it's easy. Microsoft Word headings, making sure things are obvious that this is the group, this is the heading 1, and this is the next section, heading 2, and things are getting smaller, and then the next heading 1 is another branch of information. So making things obvious. I'm going through it fast, but it's all important. Go back, see what everything means. Go to section 508 if you want to know. It's all online for anyone around the world to look at, and definitely. You can read up more on all of these. These are all important. CSS, being able to let the user resize text if they need to, just if they need it a little bigger, and then the text is still readable. All right, you can resize it, but am I still going to be able to read everything and scroll to the left and right when it goes off the page? Color contrast. What do you think is good and bad about these graphics? Feel free to put it in the chat. We can talk about it. Yeah, so that red and green next to each other, not so good, not so good. People have a color blindness issue with that, right? 1 out of 10 people are colorblind. That blew me away when I learned that while studying. So we want to include them in this. So the green and the brown also, those merge together in their colors. And so this is actually good that those two are far apart on the color wheel. What's wrong with the one on the bottom right? Well, you can see that the text is cut off since the text is the same color as the outside, and also the contrast. Color contrast is bad here, can't see it. So as you can see, it's just not much of a difference in it. And there's tools that can help us analyze the different color contrast, and it'll give you a good or a bad if you're depending on what you've chosen. So it'll give you good guidance for that, and it's simple and easy to change, really. All right, so more examples of good and bad. Okay, I'm just going to pick one. Yellow is my pet peeve. It's my presentation, I get to say it. Yellow is the pet peeve here because a lot of times people will put white on yellow, or even like that pink next to it on yellow. It's not enough of a color contrast. Please put that dark blue on there. Put a black on the yellow, and vice versa as well. Yellow as the text or the background needs to be considered. It's funky, it's nice, it's eye-catching. Please use a good color contrast. All right, so here's another one for you. What about this? What's wrong with the thing on the left? Yeah, because the one on the right is definitely updated and it's easier to read. And people with all these differently abled cognitive issues and color issues will be able to read the one on the right better. There are 5 different fonts on this, and there's good ways to use fonts and bad ways to use fonts. Okay, so I'm not saying you can't use that many, but it gets complicated when you do. Using the flavor of the Gulf South, that color over the crab, purple crab, not enough color contrast. Again, if you want the colors to stand out, don't put the red and the green next to each other. It's just how it's going to be. It's up to you. But know that 1 in 10 people won't get the flash that you're going for if you do that. So just a little more straightforward. It's still got character, the one on the right, the updated one. So know that it can still have character and pizzazz and still be accessible. All right, alt text. I was talking to a friend and she's like, this is one of the things, an easy thing for a developer to put in a website. Alt text on attributes and descriptions. It helps visually impaired people have a screen reader that can read this information. Okay, so you have an image, and there's a couple things that can happen. One is it says stack of blueberry king pancakes with powdered sugar. Great, you know, so that's fine. You don't need to say image of. We know it's an image. The screen reader will know it's an image. That's fine. Another thing that happens is, what if we have a bad connection and the image can't download? That alt text will display to the user. Boom, problem solved. They missed the picture, but they get the gist about what they're missing. So it's more of a continuous experience for them. And then also search engines will read the alt text too, and that might help you out there. So developers, there's some easy wins here that you can do. Do them, put the alt text in. So how would you alt text this? Rooster. That's nice. Is it really speaking to me though? That rooster is trying to tell me something. So rooster crowing. That's good. A red-crested rooster crowing. Now I got red in my mind. I've got visual of a rooster that's really making a noise and crowing. I can hear and see that. That helps a lot into explaining the image. And it can be read by the search engine. And if it doesn't download, people can hover over and see that text and see it. All right, this is one of my pet peeves, keyboard accessibility. Like I said, I love my keyboard. When I'm tabbing through to get to the button, if I want to get to useful, it better be in this order, okay? If I go from Rob to Kula to cool to funny to useful backwards, that's gonna upset my logic that I'm expecting. You know, this should be an easy thing. Having the tab order greatly helps people with using the keyboard, making it accessible for people with cognitive needs, and just, you know, it's a faster way to navigate. So people can use a cursor or the keyboard. Two ways to do things. Make it accessible. So what is all this about? My accessible call to action is get certified. If you're a developer, business analyst, even a designer, okay, everyone on the project team is responsible for accessibility. You can help make this happen. Everyone can make this happen. Get accessible. Know what to test for. You're not developing, you're testing. You can remind the developers, this is what we need to happen. So think about how your application or your document or your product is being accessed by differently abled users. Remember, we all have something that we could have help with. What's the person next to you trying to do that might make it easier for them? Try and do that. And at the very least, start implementing alt tags. All right, so that is the call to action. If you need some references, I can send those out to you. And you connect with me. I'm Twitter at MindyBo93 and LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect with anyone, and it's been great. So that's my talk, accessibility. Thank you, Serendipity. Thank you to all the attendees. Thank you to the conference organizers, Adrian Vence, for inviting me here today. Thank you to the sponsors. And I'm looking forward to the next step in this accessible journey. Have a great rest of your night.